welcome back to the Building Your Brand podcast. And this is my first solo episode of the year. And I have decided that I'm going to try and keep these solo episodes going probably for most of 2026, if not all of it. I'm definitely going to be taking a break over the summer this year with no new episodes going out, but I will fill you in on all of that closer to the time. But yes, solo episodes are here to stay. So thank you if you gave me feedback on them. And I'm coming in hot today to share with you the one resolution that I am going to try and keep this year. Now, actually, I've already failed my resolution, which is kind of why I've never really been a fan of setting them. But let's get into it and I'll tell you all about it. Now, yeah, I don't typically make resolutions. I would say I definitely enjoy setting goals and having things that I want to work towards, but I do really hold those loosely because what I find is that I will set myself a goal, or usually it's a list of goals, and sometimes other things come up that I could never have anticipated that often are even better than anything that I've written on my list of goals. And so I adjust accordingly and I do those amazing things. And sometimes the goals that I've made happen later on. So that definitely happened last year where I had the goal of hosting an in-person podcast event, but I got asked to speak at 2 Adobe Maxes. So I jumped at those opportunities, and that meant that the in-person podcast event got put on the back burner. But I am doing that goal this year because it's all booked in. It's happening on February the 24th in Cardiff. If you are anywhere near Cardiff, please come. I will put a link to get tickets in the show notes or below the YouTube video. So yeah, I think sometimes or quite often my goals end up happening maybe like a year after they were supposed to, but I'm okay with that. I like holding them loosely. I like having the flexibility of changing course as the year goes on. But let me tell you about my resolution. Now, you might remember I had a guest on the podcast last year called Laura Belgray. She is a copywriter. She specializes in emails and she is amazing. And one of the things that she recommended was getting into a regular writing habit. And she recommended this website called 750 Words. So it's a very simple design and layout. You basically just get a blank bit of paper, not a blank bit of paper, a blank screen, and you just start writing, and you can write anything, and you write 750 words. And when you get to 750, the screen, like a little celebration confetti thing happens and everything goes green, and you know that you've hit your word goal for the day. So I loved the sound of it. Tried it out, didn't really do anything with it straight away. But I have decided that my resolution for 2026 is that I am going to write every day. Now, like I said, I have actually already not achieved my resolution. There was a couple of days so far this year where I haven't made it to 750 words. But on the most part, I've been doing it. I've been getting into the daily habit of writing, and I am absolutely loving it. And I genuinely think it's going to really transform my business. I do think writing is such an important skill to have. Now, obviously, I'm a very visual person. I'm all about design, but there are so many places in my business where I need to write and I need to write well. And like everything else, it's a skill that can be practiced, a skill that can be honed. And I have, for the longest time, told myself this story that I am not good at writing, that I'm not a good writer. It's something that doesn't come super easily to me. It feels hard sometimes. And I guess I look at other people who write stuff, I read their writing and I'm like, oh, that is so good. And I feel like that's very out of reach for me. But I think that kind of negative story that I've been telling myself, I don't think is totally accurate. Yes, maybe I find it harder than other people find it, but I don't think I'm not a good writer. I don't think that bit of it is probably as true as I've made out. And the thing is, if I just keep telling myself this negative story, then it will continue to be true. So I've decided that I'm going to change that and I'm going to really invest in writing this year. So I'm using this website, 750 Words. I would massively recommend it. You can do like a free trial for quite a while, but then there is a paid version. But in January, I decided that I would treat myself to the paid version. I think it was like £37 or $50 for the whole year. And honestly, I mean, you don't need it. You could literally just use a journal. You could use the notes app on your phone. You could use whatever. But actually, I am finding it really motivating seeing the little ticks on the days that I complete and just being able to track it and just having that space to store everything. And one thing that is really cool, and this honestly, like I'm not an affiliate, this is not an ad, it's just me sort of sharing my enjoyment of this tool. But one of the things that I really like about it is that you can then go back and search your writing. And at the moment, I'm just keeping it very loose and free, and I'm just finding sort of prompts to use or thinking of a topic that I want to kind of like ponder on each day and just writing as much as I can about it. And I'm not making it particularly business focused at this point, but obviously, you know, that does often come up in what I'm thinking about and what I'm writing about. But I like that I'm going to have this bank of written work and written thoughts that I could go back and search through, maybe pull out stories. Like one of the things that Laura Belgrade talked about, which I loved, was, you know, like how you can find these little stories in your everyday, and you can use those in your email marketing. And so I'm hoping that I'm going to have this whole bank of content that I can go back and search through and potentially repurpose and use into posts and content, and that the process of writing every day, there's going to be a lot of improvement there. You know, like with anything, the more you practice, the better you get at something. And yes, it doesn't feel the easiest thing right now, but one of my big goals, and again, I'm holding this loosely and it's movable, but one of my big goals for this year, and I mentioned this in a solo episode at the end of last year, is to write a book. I'm planning to self-publish it. I've got the sort of concept laid out and I've written a couple of the chapters already. But I think if I'm actually going to be able to achieve that goal, I just need to get better at sitting down and writing. And like I said, not the easiest for me, but something that I'm determined to do. And you know, there's so many instances that I need to write in my business. So for my email marketing, blog posts, website copy, you know, just even writing emails to clients. So I think it's going to have a huge benefit on me. I feel really excited about it. One of the mindset shifts I have had to make is in the past, I have been very all or nothing with this sort of thing. So I've definitely had the attitude of if I can't do something perfectly, then I'm just not going to do it. And that I think is why I've always been really anti resolutions, because like a daily goal is just, I'm never going to do it. I mean, obviously resolutions don't have to be a daily goal, but like I don't like setting resolutions because I just feel like I'm setting myself up for failure. And so I'm trying really hard to shift my mindset and it not be about doing this perfectly. It's about getting into new habits. So I think on day 5, January the 5th, I started and didn't finish my 750 words for the day. And mainly that was because I had a big deadline on. And I was really disappointed with myself. And I was like, oh, great. I've like, you know, broken my streak on day 5. But in the past, I would have been like, well, I failed at day 5, so I'm not going to keep going. And I'm not going to do that this time. I am determined to keep going even when there's like an odd blip here and there, and that it doesn't need to be this perfect thing that I do all year. I just want it to be something that I do all year, even if it's not perfectly consistent. And I think, you know, that mindset shift applies to so many areas of life. It's so interesting how it shows up for me everywhere. So one of the places that it has shown up is going to the gym. And I know I'm mentioning the gym way too often on this podcast, but it's just what's going on in my life right now. But like, for example, I do 3 workouts a week and I get really, really frustrated and cross with myself if I don't achieve all of my workouts that week. But I've had to accept that that is going to happen sometimes. There's been weeks where I've been ill. And I just like, it's just not been a wise thing to try and push myself and go to the gym. And that is totally okay. And having a personal trainer has really helped with that because she really helps me and challenges me on my sort of all or nothing mindset. You know, and it's about creating those habits, creating lasting changes to how I live my life and how I do things, and sort of those regular routines, and like the consistency can still be there even if it isn't like showing up perfectly. And I think, on the whole, I just need to give myself less of a hard time about things. One thing that always comes back to me is I remember it's quite a while ago now, but I had a period where I had some therapy, and one of the things that she said to me that will stay with me forever was basically like, Liz, I think you need to be a bit kinder to yourself. And that really, really struck me because I never really thought of myself as someone who was particularly mean to myself. And then, like, her saying that and me obviously going a bit deeper and really thinking about it, I was like, oh, I do give myself a hard time about quite a lot of things. So that is my big resolution for 2026, is to write more. And, in a time when I think a lot of people are almost losing their writing skills because they're outsourcing a lot of their writing process to AI tools like ChatGPT, I'm actually going to go the other way, and I'm going to lean in to improving my writing skills and writing things without any assistance from AI. Not that I'm saying that you shouldn't, like there's use cases, there's loads of different ways that you can use ChatGPT, and I'm sure I will be using it as well. But yeah, so that is my resolution. If you've got any resolutions that you've made or any goals that you've set yourself, I would love to hear them. Let me know. You can either comment underneath the video on YouTube, or you can come find me on social media where I'm at Liz M. Mosley or at Building Your Brand Podcast. And I will be back next week with another solo episode.